Hello students, welcome back. Let's now take a look at the recent test that was given to you, the 10 questions given as part of the exercise in sentence correction. Now, in the previous test, we discussed sentence correction in the light of grammatical errors. Now, in this test, as you would have noticed, the questions are all based on vocabulary. In other words, words being wrongly used. So the first question was, the leader did everything to assure that everyone in the group got involved. Now the sentence looks fine because it is grammatically or structurally correct. However, there is some problem here, and that has to do with the use of the word assure. Assure is a verb that is used to convey the sense of convincing someone. In other words, to remove someone's doubts. And you always assure someone. In other words, assure is always followed by a noun, a person. You use assure as a verb and it is always followed by someone, the name of a person, or someone, a noun that refers to a person. So you can only assure someone of something. Whereas ensure, a word that sounds very closely related to it, means to guarantee. It's a verb which means to make sure that something happens. So in this sentence, the leader did everything to assure that everyone in the group got involved. You notice that assure as a verb there is not followed by a noun. You have something else going after assure, to assure that everyone got involved. But therefore, assure is not the word that is to be used there. We need to use the word ensure, to guarantee, to make sure that everyone gets involved. So, the leader did everything to ensure that everyone in the group got involved. So, in this presentation, we will be taking a look at words that are commonly misused. In other words, words which sound so much alike that they are wrongly used in place of each other. So when you talk about assure and ensure, we also need to remember a third word which sounds a lot alike, and that is insure. Insure, of course, has a different meaning altogether. It means to cover something as a kind of protection, to give an insurance cover to something, probably by taking an insurance policy or something. So assure, ensure, and insure are a set of three words which we need to take account of and be sure about their specific meanings and their correct usage. So the slide explains it in further detail. To assure means to remove doubt, to convince somebody about something, to give somebody confidence regarding something. So it's generally followed, as I told you, by a noun. This is the verb and it is followed by a noun in the object position. So you always assure someone. I assure you that I will help you in your studies. Now there is one context in which you can use assure without it being followed by the noun in the object position. That would be in a usage like rest assured. That means you may rest assured that India will be the most populated country soon. Rest assured. So it's only in that kind of usage that you do not have assure or the past tense of assure, not followed by a noun in the object position, in the phrase rest assured. So rest assured that everything will be taken care of. Rest assured that the problems will be sorted out soon. Yeah, so one more use of the word assure in the past tense. The doctors assured him that he could resume his normal routine. Let us ensure the safety of these devices. I ensure my support to this candidate, but it would be I assure you of my support to this candidate. Similarly, let us insure these devices against theft. Let us ensure that these devices do not get stolen. Let us assure the manager that the devices will not get stolen. So, assure is followed by a noun which falls in the object position after the noun, the verb assure. Moving on to the next one, we have a sentence here which sounds perfectly okay. The teacher complimented the students on their performance. It sounds okay because the word complimented there sounds exactly like the other complimented, the word that should be really used in that context. And that word is different from this complimented only in spelling. There are two different kinds of compliment. One is COMPLEMENT, the other is COMPLIMENT. Now, such words which sound alike, which are pronounced alike, but which have different spellings and which naturally mean different things, they are called homophones. Homo. Homo is a prefix which means same, and phone means sound. So, words which sound alike, homophones. But of course, they are spelled differently and they have different meanings too. And we need to understand the meanings of these two complements. Now, complement, to complement, spelled with an E after L, complement. That means, completing something or supplementing something. We use that word in order to convey a sense of something being added or something which performs the function of completing something. Therefore, in a sentence like, a beautiful lake complemented the beauty of the village. It means that the village is beautiful by itself, but there was this lake which added to the beauty of the village. So it kind of adds a sense of completion. It makes the beauty of the village more complete or more total. So a beautiful lake complemented the beauty of the village. She complemented her attire with a smart bag or something like that, with a colorful bag. She was wearing a particular kind of dress, and to go with that, to add a sense of completion to that outfit, she carried a colorful bag too. She complemented her attire with an equally colorful bag. Now, the other complement, the complement which has the I following L, COMPLIMENT, it is a word which means to praise, to praise or to give a word of appreciation or admiration. And you look at the sentence that's given to you, and you know that that is the sense in which we need to use the word compliment. Therefore, the word is COMPLIMENT. The teacher complimented the students on their performance with an I after L. Can look at the other examples that are given there. To compliment, we feel happy when we get complimented for our work. The next sentence is one that appeared in a question paper some years back, in a grammar and phonetics question paper of an exam conducted by the University of Calicut. So the sentence goes like this: much water has flown under this bridge. Again, it sounds perfectly okay. We also get the sense of water flowing under a bridge. But we realize that the word flown there is not the right word to be used in that context, because what we need there is the past participle form. When you're talking about the present perfect tense, we have has plus the past participle form of the verb. And what is the verb here? The verb refers to the action of flowing. What is the past participle form of flow? It is not flown, but it is flowed. Flow, present tense, past tense is flowed, and past participle is flowed as well. Whereas flown is the past participle form of another verb altogether, the verb fly. Fly is the present tense, flew past tense, and flown past participle. So we need to use the word flowed in this context. Much water has flowed under this bridge. Flowed, or flown is a word that is used to refer to a past action of the past action of flying. The chief guest was flown in a day before the event. The chief guest was brought in an aircraft, was therefore flown in a day before the event. So we need to distinguish between the past tense and the past participle forms of these two verbs, fly and flow. Much water has flowed under this bridge. Now, the fourth sentence, Seema ran further than her sister. Now, the difference here is between further and father. Father with an R in between, F-A-R-T-H-E-R. Now, father is the word that is to be used when we talk about a measurable distance. Further is only used to refer to a figurative distance, the idea of a distance. It's a figurative distance. Farther is the one that you use for real, physical, or measurable distance. So in this context, we're talking about a girl running to a point beyond that which her sister ran. Therefore, it is not further, but farther that we have to use in this context. Seema ran farther than her sister. The distance covered by the two girls is something that you can measure. Therefore, farther. Further can be used in a sentence like, now that you've got your degree, what are your further plans? You cannot measure it. It just tells you about, the idea of something after something, further. That is what is meant by further. Think of another context. The dash you go up this hill, the better the view of the lake. So there again we are talking about distance that can be measured. Therefore, it is the farther. The farther you go up the hill, the better would be the view of the lake. So the difference is between farther and further. For measurable, concrete distances, use farther. For the idea or for the figurative concept of distance, use further. Number 5, it was a historical moment for the school when the president visited it during the Golden Jubilee year. Historic or historical, which is the correct word to be used in that context? We need to know the difference between the meanings of these two words. Now, historic is something that describes something that is very important, something that's significant, something that is huge. A historic thing can be a person, it can be an event, it can be, something that has great significance. It need not be directly connected to history as as a subject, as a record of past events, and so on. We use the word historic to refer to something that is very significant. Whereas historical is the word that we use to describe something that has connections with history. It can be an event, it can be an object or something. It It is something that is connected to past, something that is connected to history, that is historical. So we can say Mangal Pandey is a historical movie. Why? Because it is a movie that deals with Indian history, that is set in the past of India. So you may call it a historical movie. You wouldn't call it a historic movie unless you want to say that it is a very very significant movie and that it is a turning point. You may say Sholay is a historic movie. Sholay, it has nothing to do with history, but it is a very significant movie and it was in many ways a turning point in Indian cinema. Therefore, you may call it a historic movie, whereas Mangal Pandey is a historical movie. And therefore, in this sentence, when you're talking about an event that had great significance, that was of great importance, we should not be using the word historical because we're not talking about anything that is connected to history here. We are only talking about something that is important. Therefore, the word to be used there is historic. It was a historic moment for the school when the president visited it during the Golden Jubilee year. Therefore, observe for yourself the difference between historic and historical by using the two words in as many different sentences as possible. So the next sentence gives you an insight into a very commonly made mistake, especially in written communication. It has to do with the use of the word it's with the apostrophe and without the apostrophe. The dog went back to its cage. It doesn't matter whether there is an apostrophe or not because we would read it in exactly the same way. The dog went back to its cage. But when you write it with an apostrophe, it is a different meaning that is conveyed because an apostrophed word, as an apostrophed word, it is a contraction. It is the short form of it is. Okay, it just indicates that one of the letters there has been removed and in its place you put the apostrophe mark, as sometimes you would use M-A apostrophe M in order to write the word madam, ma'am. In a similar way, it apostrophe S is a short form of it is. Now, is that what you want to say in this sentence? The dog went back to it is cage? Not at all. What you want to say is that the dog went back to its cage. You're using it's there as a pronoun. What pronoun? As a possessive pronoun. A pronoun that indicates possession, like my, our, his, her, their. My book, his bag, her pencil, their land, our home, its cage. It's a possessive pronoun and it is not to be apostrophed. So when you write a sentence like, it's a holiday tomorrow, what do you mean? You mean that it is a holiday tomorrow. So in that sentence, you add the apostrophe between it and S to indicate that it is a short form of it is. It's a holiday tomorrow. Whereas in sentences like, the sun was so bright, its rays blinded me. Its rays, we are talking about it's there as a possessive pronoun. The rays of the sun. Similarly, the dog went back to its cage. The cage that belongs to the dog. Therefore, it is it's without the apostrophe mark. So this is something that you have to be careful about, especially in written communication. Now the next one, lose. You may lose a lot of money if you gamble. Is the word lose right there? It sounds okay, but look at the spelling. It's spelled with a double O or two O's, and that is a different word, or it conveys a different meaning. Loose, spelled with two O's, L-O-O-S-E, is an adjective. And what does it mean? It means something that is not tight. It's an antonym, of something that is or it's an antonym of tight. I prefer loose clothes to tight fitting ones. You may also use it in sentences where you have, something being let loose. The dogs are let loose at night. Whereas in the given sentence, what you are conveying is a sense of something getting lost. Lose is the verb, the past tense of which is lost. So you're talking about that kind of loss, and therefore you have to use the word with only a single O, L-O-S-E. That is the right word. Lose is the verb. That means to suffer a loss. So you may lose a lot of money if you gamble, spelt with a single O. So observe the difference between the two words. Again, these are also homophones. They sound alike, but they have different spellings, and obviously they have different meanings too. They just sound alike. The eighth one, the principal reason for the floods was the heavy rainfall. What is the principle that we are talking about here? Are we talking about a kind of rule or a law or a theorem or a guiding principle, or are we talking about something that is the main reason? Of course, it's the latter. So the word to be used there is principal, the main thing, principle, which means the original, the first, the most important. We are all familiar with the use of the principal, the word principal, to refer to the head of an institution. That person is the most important person there, the person who's in charge, in the same sense. So therefore, the principle or the principal reason. Whereas the other principle is used in a context like this, the sentence, truth and non-violence were the principles that Gandhiji upheld. The guiding principles, the guiding lights, or the guiding rules that he upheld in life. So that is Principle. She is an extremely principled person. Our principal is an extremely principled person. So in the same sentence, you have the two words. The next one, the trains remained stationary during the lockdown. Now, stationary, stationary, refers to something that is fixed, immobile, or unchanging, whereas a word like stationery, stationery, that refers to writing instruments like paper, pens, and little envelopes and things like that. So that is stationery, and the other is stationary. And we are referring to the trains remaining immobile, and therefore the word to be used is stationary. The trains remained stationary during the lockdown, whereas this shop sells good stationery. That is a different word altogether. It's interesting to note that the word stationery, referring to these kind of things, pens and pieces of books and paper and so on, was actually also spelt with an ARY, and it referred to the practice of people setting up fixed shops or immobile shops right outside universities in England in order to sell writing equipment. Unlike other vendors or traders who would be traveling or who would be pushing their wares in push carts and going around the town or the village in order to sell their wares, these people remained outside the university, just outside the gates of the university, where they would put up a fixed or immobile stall. And that is how the word stationery was used to refer to them. And then down the years, the meaning was changed in order to refer specifically to that kind of those kind of things, the kind of things that were sold in those shops. So that is stationery. The other is stationery. So the last sentence. From the looks on their faces, it is clear that the children are disinterested in this activity. Are they disinterested or are they uninterested? I guess we are referring to children being bored and not taking any interest in something. And the word to be used there is uninterested, whereas disinterested has a different meaning. It refers to the state of remaining neutral, of being impartial, where you have no bias, where you have no special individual interest in something. In other words, you can take an impartial stand. We expect the jury to decide the winners in a disinterested manner, that is, without any prejudice, without any partiality, without in a very impartial manner, that is disinterested. Whereas uninterested has shades of being indifferent. You're not bothered about something, you're not interested in something, you're bored about something. That is uninterested. So from the look on their faces, it is clear that the children are uninterested in this activity. So this is commonly, these two words are commonly misused. People use uninterested where they want to use disinterested, and very often they use disinterested when they mean a state of being bored. In those contexts, we need to use uninterested. When we discuss the wrong usage of words, we also need to look at a related situation where you have words or verbs which are very closely connected, but which have a slight difference in their spellings. For example, the word advise. Now, how do you spell advise? Is it advice or advise? The fact is, both the words are proper words, but one is used as a noun, the other is used as a verb. And how do we distinguish between the two? We use the spelling CE for the noun and SE for the verb. So when you say good advice is a priceless thing, what is advice there? It's a noun. What is a priceless thing? Good advice is a priceless thing. It is in the subject position. It is a noun. So good advice, it is spelled with a CE, ADVICE. Whereas in the next sentence, advice is used in the form of a verb, or it's a verbal form of verb. The advice, the verb form of advice. She advised her friends to stay away from violent forms of protest. She advised, that is an action. Therefore, it's a verb, and therefore we use the spelling SE. She advised her friends to stay away from violent forms of protest. The word practice has a similar usage. Practice as a noun is spelled with CE, and practice as a verb is spelled with SE. Regular exercise is a healthy practice. It's a noun there, and therefore it is spelled with CE. You need to practice well, verb, the action word. You need to practice well in order to perform well on stage. There, practice has SE. So also, devise, DEVICE is what we use to when we use it as a noun, DEVISE when it's used as a verb. Youngsters have a fancy for smart devices, noun form, therefore CES. They devised the best plan to reach their destination. Devised, planned, they created the best plan. So it is the verb there, SED. Let us devise a good strategy. Again a verb, and therefore SE. So we'll wind up this presentation with the pair words quiet and quiet. QUIET and QUITE. What is the difference between the two? Quiet, quiet, Q-U-I-E-T, is an adjective. The other one is quiet, is an adverb. There is also a difference in the way we pronounce the two words. Q-U-I-E-T is quiet. It is spelled with a ear sound in between, quiet. Whereas the other one is quite, quite. There is no ear sound, quite. So, quiet is an adjective that describes a noun, and it's referred, it is used to refer to something that is rather silent, something that makes very little noise, something that is, a place or a thing or somebody who is silent, on the quieter side, quieter side. This is a quiet, calm place. You're describing the place as, one that is rather silent. So it's a quiet, calm place. Whereas in the next sentence, this is quite a calm place. This is quite a calm place. It's an adverb which describes something, which is not completely that. It's a lot of that. There is a little bit or even a lot of that, but not completely, that much. So this is quite a calm place. It's on the it's a very calm place. It's not completely calm, but it's a very calm place. So to add that kind of quality to what you are saying, to add that kind of emphasis to what you're saying, you say, this is quite a calm place. It was quite an easy exam. Not fully easy, but on the easier side. It was quite easy. It was rather easy. This is quite a calm place. Whereas the other one is, this is a quiet, calm place. So that's the difference between quiet and quite. So I think it's been quite a long session. Therefore, we can wind up now. Please do go back to these sentences and try to form similar sentences for your practice.